We're here with Michael Psilakis. Many of you might recognize him from his appearances on Food Network. He's been on shows like Chopped, Iron Chef America, and some show with Guy Fieri. I can't remember the name of it. We're here in Michigan, and can you give us a real quick overview of why you decided to sign on with Buick and how you felt that they fit your vision of food?
Sure. So, I mean, Buick, last year they did something called the Buick Discovery Tour, which was, I guess, a combination of events that were put together for a layman, somebody who's not a car rider, to come in and actually drive a car and experience an entire day of different activities that ultimately culminated in an experience with a celebrity chef. I did 5 cities last year. I was really interested in this project when it was explained to me, and it was actually even better than what I thought it was going to be. Ultimately, it's Buick telling people that they perceive their needs to be beyond the car, and they're looking at their wants and desires in a whole, and they're seeing that the car itself is part of a whole. So what they did was they took a chef, and they took a wine expert, and they took people who were traveling experts, and they brought them all together in one venue and said, we're going to make an experience that's going to take each part of a whole and put them together so you can have one entire day of fun. And it was really an incredible experience. I mean, for a car company to go to that extreme to get you to enjoy yourself, it really, to me, it just said that they cared, and that's really the biggest reason why I'm back.
So for those that aren't familiar with what you do and what you're about, and more to the point of what your culinary background is, can you give us a brief overview of your culinary point of view, I guess?
Sure. I mean, my culinary point of view changed over time. It started in a very haute way. I was cooking very cerebral, critically acclaimed food for many years. I had a catalyst that veered me from that to much more comfort, family-oriented food, food that really brought people together when my father passed away.
Was it specifically Greek food or just food in general that was comfort food?
Yeah, I mean, I was known for cooking Greek food. I mean,
okay.
my biggest, I guess, people who follow the culinary world would probably look at me as the guy who took Greek food from the ethnic boundaries that it was lying in and sort of brought it to the mainstream. We were able to, I guess, break some of the boundaries, overcome some initial resistance to taking the rustic form of Greek food and evolving it to haute. And once we did that, and we started getting a lot of critical attention, it was much easier to have people listen to what I was trying to preach.
Well, it must be quite interesting, because I know most Americans, when they think Greek food, all they think is a gyro.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that was the goal, is to try and expose them to more than the 3 or 4 things that we as Greeks have allowed them to see.
Right.
And, you know, we were able to accomplish a tremendous amount. And now I've shifted my attention from the critical world to the people. Right now, my goal is to really just try and take Greek food into the mainstream of America. To have Greek food be one of the choices that you think about when you're at home and you say to yourself, what are we eating tonight? I think, you know, right now in New York especially, we have Italian food, which is, you know, it's basically American food at this point. It's very beloved here in the United States. And then we have Asian food, Chinese and Japanese. But what's after that?
Right.
What's the thing that goes after that? And I think Greek food will fit that void. You know, once you start to understand Greek food, what you'll realize is that it's simple, clean, Mediterranean food, using ingredients that you know. I think the biggest issue with Greek food, truthfully, is just that it's a foreign language to you guys. We use a strange alphabet. It doesn't look like something you've seen before, but in essence, it's Italian food and Middle Eastern food fused together, and then you get Greek food.
If there was anything that you would like to be able to express to people in just a brief statement about why they should go out and adventure and seek out some Greek food at restaurant in their local town or whatever, what would you say that would be?
I mean, I think, for me, there's obviously an intimacy with being Greek, being raised in the vacuum of the Greek culture from immigrant parents. There's always been a significant amount of pride in what I've done. The reason why this goal of bringing Greek food into the mainstream was so critical to me is because there was a sense of pride behind this. It was like a feeling that I needed to show you the beauty of what Greece has. And the vehicle that I chose was the thing that I loved, which was food. I think what you're going to get if you go out and start to try Greek food is that you're going to see that it's just going to open up a door to a completely different world of food that at once is recognizable and at the same time is new. And to me, that's always very exciting. When you have an opportunity to say, okay, this is a meatball, but it's a little bit different than the meatball that I'm used to.
Right.
I think that's what makes food exciting, and that's what food is all about. And Greek food is that.
In terms of Food Network celebrity status, how would you differentiate your Greek point of view compared to that of like Kat Core and Michael Simon?
Well, it's ironic that you have, 3 chefs, 2 of which are Iron chefs, who are of Greek descent, who use Greek ingredients, who cook Greek food.
Which actually helps your cause in a certain way, yeah.
Right. I think that, all of us, and I think this is true with all chefs, is that, if you take the 3 of us and you give us the same recipe with the same ingredient, you're going to get 3 different outcomes. It's our perception of something that I think influences what the end result of the dish is. I've eaten all of their foods, and they're just unbelievably talented chefs who I'm thankful are Greek and are doing are adding to the cause. I don't think that our philosophies necessarily are different from one another. I think that we're all passionate about Greek food. It's just the styles of cooking, I think, are a little bit different. For me, I really focus all of my energy on Mediterranean-based food. There's no fusion of any sort in the food that I do. I only use ingredients that you would find in Greece in the food that I'm making. And the flavors are very specific to that. Michael and Kat, I think, take Greek food and fuse it with all different types of cuisine. So they have more of a fusion Greek, I think.
Gotcha.
Mine is Greek American, truthfully. It's like I define it best as first generation Greek.
Okay. Well, the interesting, from my perspective, is obviously my first interaction with you, or my first impression of you, was on TV. And you get these impressions in your mind when you see people on TV, or they might be this way or that way. But surprisingly refreshing. I mean, you're very real. You're very approachable. You don't come across as having that whole food celebrity chef kind of vibe to you, and I think that's much to your kudos. Like, I think it's cool that you just keep it real, and you're really just about helping people embrace a better culinary point of view, even if it necessarily doesn't involve around Greek. Now, certainly, I think if they fall in love with Greek, more power to them, but you strike me from our conversation tonight of just getting people back to the basics of what food is all about.
Well, I think it's important that we all realize that food is a vehicle to bring us together. And in my family and in many families like it marked occasions. Some of them were happy, some of them were sad, but it still was there.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at the one thing that every culture, every country, every nationality, every people has, it's food. And it's always the same thing. It's always used as a vehicle to bring people together. And as we evolve as a civilization, and as we evolve here in the United States, we're removing ourselves from that traditional family of moms staying home and taking care of kids and cooking and cleaning, and dads doing the work. and bringing home the money. And when you start to do that, you start to lose that one thing that I think really was keeping the family unit together, which is the dinner table. And when you eliminate the dinner table from the family unit, then what is it that you're going to have that's going to keep us together as a whole? And when you lose the family, then what happens to civilization?
See, I couldn't agree more. From my personal perspective, what got me really so headstrong into food and wine was the fact that it is the food and wine to me there's no other things out there like food and wine that bring people together and cement occasions and cement memories like food and wine. I mean, the best memories we have in life are almost always around the dinner table, with friends and family.
Or if not around the dinner table, it's around an occasion that was marked by a food that can bring you right back to the moment that you had it. It's not necessarily the food that's the thing that you're remembering. Again, it's the food that's the vehicle that's bringing you to the memory. So when you baptize your children, or when you have a 50th birthday party, or when you name it, doesn't matter. When your father passes away, you have a memory of a food, and that food will always bring you right back to that moment. And when you think about that moment, it could bring a tear to your eye or a smile to your face, but it's going to definitively bring forth some sort of an emotion,
which is great.
And I think that's the beauty of life. That's what makes us different than animals. You know what I mean? Like, we have the capacity to feel an emotion and to have a cerebral interaction with the things that are happening to us. And food allows us to process an event and transcribe that event into a specific moment that we can revisit over and over and over again.
In closing, tell us a little bit about your cookbook.
The cookbook is a reflection of my life.
It's How to Roast a Lamb.
Yeah, it's called How to Roast a Lamb, which is really a euphemism. It's not really about lamb cooking. There are a few lamb recipes in the cookbook, but it's more about lessons about life, lessons learned over time, relationships that you can develop, specifically mine with my family and my father in particular.
So it's almost as much as a memoir as it is a cookbook in certain ways.
It is. It has a lot of prose. There's short stories that preface each chapter. There's a lot of family photos in the book. It really is. It really is. It's an interesting book for me. It really took place for the most part between, the memories between a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old boy, and they were very impactful years, filled with a lot of memories, and how those memories affected my development, not only as a chef but as a man. Many people who have read it, who have written me letters, have said that it brought them back to a time where they too had these types of relationships with their mothers, with their family, with their brothers, with their cousins, grandparents. I mean, these relationships were very formative for me, and I'm sure they were for a lot of people. So sometimes you just have to remind yourself about them, to remember that they were important. And the hope really is that you're going to take the book and plant the seed of a memory with the people that you love, and that seed will grow. I think the thing that's most important to understand is that the memory that you plant today with a young child will manifest itself into something that will become completely different 20 years from now, because as he grows and he changes and he learns, that memory will become a lesson. It will become not just a thought. It won't just bring a tear, but it's going to bring a level of teaching that is going to be incredible. And you don't know that now. They don't know that now, but you do. They don't know what's going to be happening, but you do. And it's your responsibility to instill that in them now, so that they can pay it forward to their children. If we lose that, it's going to be gone forever.
I was actually getting ready to close this interview, but you brought up a very interesting point to me, because I'm a father of 5 kids. They span from ages 6 to 20, and so when you talk about kids, it's a very special thing to me. And so with that, I got to ask, what are your thoughts about the initiatives of people like Jamie Oliver and the food revolution? Because when you see all these obese kids and the epidemic of obesity among kids. I mean, as a chef and as somebody that I know appreciates cooking with whole foods, and you brought up the dinner table and how people don't cook anymore and that kind of stuff. I mean, is there anything, do you feel an onus or at all of trying to educate people to get back to basics?
I think that, you know, part of the issues that we're having is that the dinner table is being replaced by a lot of different types of foods that are not necessarily good for you. You know,
processed foods and
unfortunately today, you know, it's cheaper for family to go to McDonald's and eat off of the dollar menu than it is for them to go and pick up a steak from the supermarket to sit down and eat at the dinner table. That's an unfortunate reality that we have to deal with here in the United States. The thing that I've always told my chefs in the kitchen is that anyone can take a Chateaubriand and make good food with it. Because you're taking the best part of the animal and you're creating something that is going to taste good with it. It's when you have to think about what you're cooking and you have to test your skill in the kitchen that you're really showcasing what your soul really is on a plate. And I think that the home cook doesn't have to push it to that level. What the home cook really has to say is that, look, you know what, I'm not asking you to cook 7 days a week like my mother did at home. It's not necessary. I understand you're working, you know, everybody's working, it's busy, you know, life is different today than it was in those days. But what you can do, even as a CEO, is wake up a half an hour earlier and make pancakes.
Make it a priority.
Right? Just make pancakes. You're going to see what that does. Okay? Start there. And I think what's going to happen is that what you'll sense is that half an hour is going to become an addiction. You're going to want more than that. You're going to want to spend more time with them. You're going to look at them in a different light because you're going to see what you've been missing. And the beauty of that child, when you allow them to spend time with you, is really what I think we're losing in America today. Food is not the answer. Family is the answer. Food is the vehicle. And you know, that's really the message, I think. I mean, it could be done in any number of different ways. But you know, food is just one of those things that you have to do anyway. That's the way I look at it.
Right, exactly.
You have to do it.
You're going to eat anyway, right?
You have to do it anyway. That's it.
So, in closing, if you could just sum up real quickly, if there's anything about you that you would like people to take away from this interview, about what you're all about, what would that be?
It's really honestly just, you know, take my word for it, plant a seed. It's going to bloom into something that you're gonna be proud of. I can guarantee that.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Michael. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit. Thank you.